As if I really had to do this introduction. Cracker Barrel, of course. Where are we at? We are at a Cracker Barrel. So, what are we driving? We're driving Pasadenas, both of them. That one's a Pasadena, and that one's a Pasadena. Now, the difference happens to be is that the front one is 28 feet, and the back one is 22 feet. And of course, we got a Lucy Blue, the car, right behind us. So, yeah. I'm Tex, DTN, living life. It's been a little bit since I've done a video. We are in, shoot, I don't even know where we're at. We're in Alabama, exit 328. So, there you go. There's your clues. Cracker Barrel. But yeah, the driving of driveway. Here's some thoughts. Many people ask this: do you make money? Can you make a living? The answer is yes and yes. Can you make more money? Yes, you can make a lot of money. There's a lot of different things you can do. The thing I will point out happens to be is that not only can you make money, but you can definitely make lucrative money. Now, you're not going to make $1 million. You're going to make 100,000 if you wish. It all depends on how much you work to do this. So, that's where this comes down to. If you come across and put work into this, you can make money. But you're going to run into days like today. We started off today up in Indiana, north of Louisville, Kentucky, and went through an hour and a half to 2 hours bumper traffic. And before we pulled off this exit, no more than 2 miles up the road, we were again in an hour of bumper traffic. Okay? Construction reasons, accident reasons, doesn't matter what the reason is, but you're going to run into that. This is the interstate. This is the highway. This is at the mercy of so many variables, so many other people. Okay? And when you're driving this thing, you can't just duck off and take the back road over to here and over to here. No, because you got to pay attention to your height. You got to pay attention to your weight. And then these things that people love, they're called trees, okay, and shrubbery, all stick out in the roadway, and you drive by and you hit the limb and it scratches. That counts against you. So there's a lot of different things to point out here that are variables that will cause you to not make money. All right? So when it comes down to it, the bottom line is you can make money, but you got to be smart about it. All right? The other thing that you will run into, there's 3 times a year this business will slow down. Right before Christmas, towards the Thanksgiving point, right before Thanksgiving actually, but it slows down even more right afterwards. Right after Christmas, and the middle of the year. The middle of the year, somebody said it was in June, somebody said it was in July, somebody said it was in August, somebody said it was in May. Well, guess what? Each location has their time frame that they do the switchover. And when I'm talking about switchover, that means that they're taking and changing out their assembly line from the previous year to the next year. So they shut down for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it may be, depending on how much work needs to be done and what needs to be done during that. Okay? If they need to do reconstructions or anything to that effect for the new assembly lines, all those different things, all that counts into it. So you're going to have dead time then. And then, of course, like I said, the end of the year and then the beginning of the year. Now, if you calculate that and you figure on that, then you make sure you're available for whatever comes out, and you take it. If you've got a unit that's going to Weyburn, Canada, and they say, hey, I got a unit going to Weyburn, Canada. Well, no, I want to wait for the units that's going to be released over here in Red Bay, and they're going to go across America, and they're going to be an extra, $500. Well, you turn down a unit, you're not going to get asked multiple times because they get used to you turning down, so therefore they're not coming to you. And that's where the thing comes in. Why does all these transport companies have revolving doors? Well, they've got units that people are turning down, then therefore they're going to have a revolving door. That's not guaranteed, but yet that's my theory. That's the reason why they have revolving doors, and they have a change up. The people that's been here the longest will tell you there's no money in this because they don't want you here. Some of them are like that. Some of them that's only been here a short time already picked up on that and said, oh, well, shoot, I'll tell everybody else don't come. Okay, there's no money here. So that's the other thing. What gets me is that some of these people that say that, oh, there's no money, you can't make no money here, and you ask them what year their truck is that they're using, and it's 2024, 2025, 2023. Wait a second, you bought a brand new truck and you're still paying on it, and there's no money? Why would you do that? Okay. So I'm pointing out all the things that you're going to run into here. There's plenty of people that's not going to want you here. There's plenty of people that will want you here. I myself, I really don't care whether you come or go. Okay? You're not going to affect me because what I do is for me. And that's the way I look at it. What I'm going to do is going to affect me. What you're going to do is not going to affect me. Because I'm going to make sure that I've done the same thing I've done at every job I've ever had. Make sure I'm reliable. Make sure that when you ask me, can I do? The answer is yes, I can do. I'm going to make sure that I don't turn away and leave you high and dry. Those are the things I'm going to do. And when somebody comes back and sends me a message and says, well, that means you're going to take the cheap loads and drive our prices down. No, I'm not. Because I don't get offered cheap loads. And drive away, the cost is anywhere from 90 cents up to $1.25. But I pull up my DMA app, and my average load since day one of starting here, my average load is $1.19. Yeah, I paused to let you think about that one. Okay? We take a lot of 99-cent loads. We take a lot of dollar loads. We take a lot of $1.04. But then whenever you count the bonuses that they turn about and say, hey, man, you were really on top of this. We got you a bonus for this. Hey, yeah, we're doing this to help you out here. All right. Because I'm reliable. I don't argue about the dollar amount that's on that unit because I know somewhere along the line when I come across and say, hey, we need to make a few extra dollars, my dispatcher is going to say, you're the person I call. People call and ask for you. Therefore, we're going to make sure you're staying and you're taken care of. That's the way you do it. You can argue with me all you want. Now, here's the other thing. Let's throw this out there. There is a scenario that when you go out on and do this job, there's a logbook that you've got to keep. Okay? Keeping that logbook is the most difficult thing in the world for more people to understand. Because there's misunderstandings when your instructor says after 4 hours, make sure you take a 30-minute break. So you're within the 8-hour period. Okay, so let's back up. Let's talk about the logs. This is the way it works. Logs are done this way. You're allowed to work 14 hours in any given 24-hour period. you must be off for 10 hours in that 24-hour period. Okay? So forget about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Forget about the word day. Forget about the word week. Calculate this. 24 hours. If you start your job at 7:30 in the morning, 14 hours from then is going to be 9:30 in the evening. Because 7:30 to 7:30 is going to be 12. And you got 14, so you got up to 9:30. There you go. That's it. You know your dead time is 9:30. You got to be 100% off every possible commission capable. You are EOD. End of day. That's it. Okay? So if you start at 7:30 and you go to your logs and you say PTI, pre-trip inspection. Now we do PTI, and then the second 3 letters we use is SOD for start of day. So that way they know this is the PTI of start of day. There you go. Okay, it's not hard to figure out. I mean, we were already off, and this is the start, so therefore it should be start of day. But yet, that's what it stands for, start of day. So we start at 7:30. We got 30-minute PTI. We start driving at 8 o'clock. Now, in that 14 hours, from 7:30 to 9:30, we're allowed to drive for 11 of them. So if you start driving at 8, that means that you can drive all the way up to 7. Because 8 to 8 is 12, so you just minus 1. That means that you can drive from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Okay? And that gives you your 11 hours. However, in that same 11 hours, there's got to be a 30-minute break. Okay? So that means that you go from 8 a.m. to 7:30. Now, if you do like I usually do, and that is calculate an extra 2 15-minute breaks that we're going to stop somewhere and use the restrooms or grab a candy bar or whatever. Okay? So there's going to be that there too. So therefore you add those 2 15-minute breaks. And now you know that you're driving from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Okay? All right. So now you know that. There's your 11 hours, along with a 30-minute lunch break and 2 15-minute breaks somewhere. Or you can put it all together and take 1 hour lunch break. What I like to do anyway. So, well, you're not pressured to eat fast or anything like that. You actually have a relaxation. Now, the instructors that you will come across, a lot of them will tell you, don't take that 30-minute lunch break. Now I'm going to rephrase that to saying lunch break. Don't take your lunch break until after you've been there 4 hours. Okay? And I heard a couple of people talk about saying, well, yeah, they started 9 o'clock, not 8 o'clock. So 4 hours after that be 1 o'clock. That's when they're going to stop for lunch. No, that's not the way to calculate that. Okay? He and she and anyone that's an instructor that tells you to take it 4 hours after start is correct. But you should actually do the calculations of 4 hours after start up to 4 hours before the end of day, before the end of driving. Let me rephrase that. Let me say that again. That's 4 hours after you start driving up to 4 hours before the end of driving. So that means that at 8 a.m. when you start, you should count on a lunch break somewhere between 12, and remember, we're going to stop at 4 p.m., so that means you should stop at we're going to stop at 8 p.m., so that means you should stop at 4 p.m. Somebody beeped the car, so therefore I got that. In either case, so that's how that works. Okay? Now, that means that your lunch break will be anywhere between noon and 4 p.m. and you will be all set to finish out your day at 8 p.m. Okay? Now, if you take anything extra, let's say you have to stop somewhere and you got into conversation with somebody and it was a good conversation and it took an hour, well, then you can add that to your 8 p.m. end day and say, okay, you went over an extra 30 minutes instead of two 15-minute breaks. You took an hour and explained to somebody something, so you took 30 minutes for lunch and then an hour for that. Now you're up to quitting at 8:30. Okay? You see how you add that up to the next point. You just know that you started at 7:30 and your end of day completely, you can't be doing nothing else, is at 9:30. And at 9:30, you've got 10 hours before you can come back to do anything. Okay? If you took up all that time. Alright? So, how it works is that you started your day 7:30 PTI, 30 minutes. You started driving at 8 o'clock. You went and took your first break at 10:15 to 10:30. So there's 15 minutes of not driving. And then you went and took your 30-minute lunch at 2 o'clock to 2:30. So there's 45 minutes of not driving. And then you took another break at 3:30 because you really had to go. And you just got done eating and you know that chili got to you. No. So you got to go. Well, but you ended up being there almost an hour. So now you got 45 minutes got to add to that 8 o'clock. So now you're all the way up to 8:45. Okay? And you stop at 8:45. And you do your PTI, EOD, end of day, PTI, EOD, and you're done after your 15 minutes there. So you finish driving, let's say, at 8:45, and you got your 11 hours of driving, and you did your 15 minutes. You can do a complete EOD right after the PTI EOD and be completely off and do absolutely nothing else for the rest of the day. So now you got 10 hours from 8:45 before you can start. So 10 hours from 8:45 means that, let's see here, 10 hours, that's going to be 3, 7. It's going to be right before 7 o'clock. It'll be 6:45 in the morning you can start. Okay? So that's how that works. All right? And that's your complete time frame. Now, we start every day at the same time. 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning. And we stop at the end of day right before the sun goes down. Okay? Until summertime when the sun stays up longer. And we will actually work all the way up until about 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then we call it a day. Now, we don't equal up our 11-hour day. We don't equal up to those things. So we don't ever have to worry about being out of character on logs, with the exception of we run into the factor of, Wendy's chili. No, I didn't have Wendy's chili today. Hey, Cracker Barrel. We run into the 30-minute break. So, hence, that's how that works. We make sure the 30-minute break's in there sometime 4 hours after we start. And we'll take it somewhere. And like today, we took the 30-minute break, an hour before we stopped at the end of the day. Just so that we knew it was in there. We stopped at a Buc-ee's, got us a sandwich. They're expensive, but yet they were good. And they're not really that much more expensive than all the fast foods are now. So fast foods are freaking $10 a burger. So, yeah, that's just for the burger. Anyway, so, but there you go. That's how logs is done. That's how you do your logs. Now, you pay attention to your logs and you make sure that you get to the point of less than 70 hours. When you reach your 70-hour mark, that's when you got to call it a day. Now, that really counts at any point that you reach the 70 hours. You have to take time off. If you're in drive away, that's not hard. That's not easy to hit. You don't usually hit 70 hours that often, unless you do a bunch of flybacks. So in other words, you make a delivery, you fly back, you get into another delivery, you drive it, and you fly back, you get into another delivery. You can run into your 70 hours. But if you are in drive away and doing a tow car, while you're in tow car, nothing counts. But here's my question. And a gentleman asked me this once at a job, that when it came down to making the decision on how to do something, he said that the way you prospectively put something in and you prospectively look at something is the way you think, how are you going to answer the question if you're sitting in a little wooden box in a courtroom and they say, did you know this was wrong? Okay, that's the key. All right. So if you're in drive away and you have a tow car, that tow car, while you're driving it, you're not on any logbook. That means that you can drive it 16, 20 hours. But the minute you get behind the wheel of another commercial vehicle, because that's what these things are, it's commercial vehicles until they're completely delivered. What are you going to say in that courtroom when they say you fell asleep behind the wheel? What were you doing the day before? What led you up to this? You was in your tow car driving from a unit back to the yard and got into another unit, went from one unit to your tow car back to into another unit, and when you got in that unit, you never took any 10-hour breaks or anything to that effect. You stopped and napped here and cat napped and got into that unit, got into an accident. What's going to be said? Or worse yet, you're in your tow car and you get into an accident. He fell asleep at the wheel. Well, the minute they come across and find out you do commercial driving, your logs are going to be pulled. They're going to say, hey, you just got out of a unit that you had marked down you drove for 8 hours and made the delivery, and then got in your tow car and drove another 10 hours. It's going to come back to bite you. So those are my comments about that. Now, 34 hours. Your 34-hour reset after 70 hours. You have to complete 70 hours consecutively with a 10-hour break in between every 14 hours and 11 hours in 14 hours of drive. All those different scenarios have to equal up, and when you hit 70 hours, you're done. Whether that's in the middle of the day, 2 hours after you start the day, whatever. The way I look at it is that find out where that 70-hour mark's going to end at, plan your day, plan your drives, and make sure that you're sitting somewhere where you are going to enjoy sitting there for 34 hours and doing nothing as far as the unit's concerned. Okay? So that's the way it works. And you should be able to plan this out very, very well. Now let's talk about planning things out. When you actually plan this out, a drive, here's the trick. Today, like I said, we had two hiccups today, two places that we ran into congestion for more than 2 hours today. So our drive for today, our total drive per hour, okay, miles per hour, over the average of today was only at 39.9, just under 40 miles per hour. That was our average drive today. Usually our average drive is anywhere between 54 all the way up to 61. Okay? So it's between 54 and 61 miles per hour. That's our average day when we're in these units. Okay? And how does that calculate? We set cruise control on 4 different settings, depending on where we're at and what the traffic's like, city, all those different things do all the calculations. So we're either setting it at 62, 64, 66, or 68. And I know somebody's going to come across and says, company policy says you can't go over 65. That's what the company policy is. That's what it's written as. And when you're in one of these units pulling something at 68, you're really only doing about 66. So hence, that's where the addition comes in. You pull up the GPS systems from Google, GPS from Waze, and the GPS on the Garmin, all of them come across and tell you that you're doing about 2 miles under what you just set the cruise control for. So hence, that's where you sit at. Anyway, there's my argument about that. Now, the thing of it is, I'm going to point out is that your average day is going to be somewhere around that. So you figure 10 hours of driving on those days, it's really about 9 hours, times that miles per hour. Like I said, our max is like 61, okay, for the day. So you take that and that'll give you just a little under 600 miles for that day. That's what you're going to make. 600 miles. And that can be done if there's no road hazards, fewer stops, things like that. So yeah, it can happen. So yeah, very good to calculate on that. But your true calculation is going to be sitting down there around the 52, 53, 500 miles in a day. And that's about the average, is somewhere between 450 and 500. I know some people talk about how they do 700. I claim bullshit. Sorry about that, but yet that's bottom line. I know how some people say, no, this job makes no money. I claim BS again. I've had some people say, man, I can make $200,000 a year doing this job. I claim BS again. All right. Tow away. If you're not making above $70,000, you're doing something wrong. Okay. Multi-haul, which is the semi-truck or 1-ton truck with the trailer. No, if you're not making above $100,000, you're doing something wrong. And drive away, if you're not making above 45 to 50,000, you're doing something wrong. All right. This is where you can make money. This is how you can make it. This is what it is. So these are the things. This is where you're going to make it. This is how you're going to do it. And it's not the easiest job for anybody. Some, it's cakework. Sit behind that wheel, dealing with stress of traffic and switching lanes and somebody not letting you over, and trucker honking his horn at you because you didn't see his blinker or whatever. Some people panic, have a fit. But no, that's not the thing. If you can sit back and relax, and road noise and road situations, then you should be fine. That's where you make money at. Okay? Don't let things stress you out. Alright. Now, one last thing. When you get out here, there's going to be downtime. What are you going to do during your downtime? Different people do different things. Some people pull up their phones and watch TV, such as Disney and ESPN and all these other, and YouTube and all the different things. Okay? Then you got some people that pull up games and play games. No, one person got the mini Starlink, and he's using that mini Starlink everywhere he goes. All right, he's sitting there playing on his computer continuously. All right, I'm cool with that. Whichever. I sit and play games. I play Kiss of War, which is a phone game, an app on the phone. I have a good time playing it. Zone 486 is where I like to play. Zone 351 is another one I like to play. But yeah, now one of them's a little bit more stricter than the other, so you gotta have certain requirements before you get there. The other one's a little bit more relaxed, but yet you still gotta have certain requirements to get into either one of them. But at the same time, no, I have played probably well over 20 different zones by creating a character in many of these, and just seeing how they play and who plays what and how they react and how the actual zone works as a team and things like that. 351 being the top that I've seen as far as teamwork. 110 being the top as far as teamwork. They have the best teamwork, but for you to get in that zone is virtually impossible. But yeah. So I'll throw a shout out to Xenomorph and Shanksito. And let's see here. There's Peter Pan in there. There's Deadpool in there. Kitsune, I guess. I can't pronounce that name. I don't know how you pronounce it. But put a shout out to all these different people that are in the games. Noel Cragen, Racer's Pale Rider also, and a few others. I know him as Stick and Stones. He's a good guy. One hell of a guy. But anyway, so you get to know some of these people and get to be friends with. One of the things about doing this job is you can drive by and buy them a beer. Don't ask me to do it, because I'm not sure I'll do it. But yet, one of the things about this job, you can do that. Anyway, if they're in America, that's the other thing I like about this game. You play with people that from all different nationalities. We've got plenty of Russians, we got plenty of Chinese, we got plenty of British, we got plenty of Australians. It's a mixture from everywhere, and it's freaking unique. No, the game has a translator. It does really well and all that good stuff. They might not understand each other, how we put our words together, how they put their words together, but it is a pretty cool game. Anyway, Kiss of War. That's one of the apps I do recommend people to try out. It's 6 years old, so it's been around. So some people say it's old and they're not going to give it the time of day, but that's up to you. I don't care. I'm old. What are you talking about? I still play racquetball. Yeah, that's another thing I do. Try to stay active. Take walks around, things like that. So there's all kinds of things you can do. But yeah, definitely stay active. And I think that should cut this video. I have said enough. I've said a lot. Peace, love, and jelly beans, people. Be safe out there. And remember, driving is not for everyone. So there's some people out there who don't even want to be there, but yet they have to. So be cautious for them. And y'all have a great holiday. Merry Christmas. Hopefully your Thanksgiving was good. And I'll try to keep up with some videos a little bit sooner. Peace, love, and jelly beans. Y'all be safe.